guys, what's going on? Give me 1 second here. I'm actually playing around with the live broadcast from my cell phone, so we're going to talk about a few things, but give me 1 second. Okay, good. This works. All right, guys. What's going on with you? Of course, you know where it's at. Sincere, whoissincere.com, Anon Radio Live, and the All Rights Matter show. Wanted to come to you tonight because I want to go ahead and try out a new segment. As you know, I do this show on Wednesdays, the All Rights Matter show on Anon Radio Live from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I want to start doing a show for YouTube, my YouTube audience, that will be kind of a late night show. When I get a little bit of time, I can come on here live and do a quick show. And this way it'll be a lot easier for me to get out a lot of information at one time. And it'll allow you to also interact with me at the same time. So I'm seeing how all of this works right now. And as far as streaming off my cell phone and looking at it, let me see here. And looking at it through the actual, the back office on the laptop, I want to make sure that this works right, because this is something I want to provide, on a regular basis. We could talk about anything you want to talk about. We could talk about updates as far as the Oregon situation. We could talk about whatever, the presidential elections going on right now. We can talk about, anything going on in science, anything going on with corporations, whatever you guys want to talk about. I believe we can definitely do all of that. So give me 1 second here. I'm still checking all of these features out. Wish I had somebody to work with me to run this while I actually just do my show. Unfortunately, though, that's not the case. So let me see something here. Okay. So I appreciate you guys being patient with me. I did a show on my live chat before. On my live streaming through YouTube before, when I needed to use it for a backup channel, kind of. So, I'm not expecting many of you to be on here at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning, but this is when I'm actually setting it up. So you'll all get this a little bit later on. Let me see here. All right. But I do appreciate you guys always being here for me to support me, guys. So, but yeah, the live show that I do, that's going to be at nighttime, the late show. It's going to be something where, like I said, I'm going to probably start at maybe 12, it's somewhere between 12 and 2. Just a late night show where we can talk, probably 12, probably like around 12 o'clock. That'll probably work for a lot of people. But a late night show where we can actually talk, discuss topics, and, whatever you guys want to discuss. So, and then what I'll do is I'll chop the videos down a little bit later on so that, they can be in smaller formats, if you will. But now that we're about 5 minutes into the stream, I'll go ahead and start discussing some of the things that I have to talk about here. And hello, Jenna, how are you? All right, that's good. All right, so what I have here for you guys is a couple different things. First of all, I want to talk about kind of the situation that's happening with the presidential race right now, but in particular, there's a lot of things we can talk about regarding that. What I'd like to talk about right now, actually, is Chris Christie next to Donald Trump. I want you to understand something, and I want to call this as I see it. I'll share the information a little bit later on with you guys, the links to it, and probably create a whole video around it. But this is the scoop on it, as far as I understand it right now. I'm doing good, Jenna. Thank you. Chris Christie is nothing but corruption. And, he's worked at every level of government as far as enforcement is concerned. Police officer, lawyer, prosecutor, I believe, governor. And the man's always been in, the public light, if you will. There's a lot of people that Chris Christie works with in Jersey, of course, because he's the governor. But there's a lot of things that get silenced I don't really know how to say it. I guess I could say that they're really good at silencing situations and getting the media not to cover certain things. New Jersey, believe it or not, and you can look this up. I mean, this is information that's on Wikipedia. Like I said, I'll probably do a video on it. But New Jersey is very heavily involved with the KKK from north to south. And this is just a fact. So what I would like to do is expose the fact that corruption in New Jersey, especially regarding law enforcement and jobs, is at a staggering height. And not only is it at a staggering height, but those who are in power are in no rush to change the circumstances of the people that have elected them to this position. And that would include Christie. So what are we talking about here? This is what we're talking about. Chris Christie has managed to place himself in a position where he has moved completely up the ranks. I mean, his story is a story in the making. He is being primed for a presidential position. I knew this and I called this back when Barack Obama went to New Jersey. I believe it was after, I believe it was after, what was that? Sandy? Yeah, I believe it was after Sandy. So he goes to New Jersey and he gives Chris Christie this amazing endorsement. And when I say amazing endorsement, I mean amazing endorsement. Pretty much saying that the United States should be ran like the state of New Jersey. When I heard that, I almost passed out. I had never heard such an endorsement for a Republican from a Democratic president. Never. And I knew that we were dealing with corruption at that very moment. Now, you won't hear this soundbite again until Christie walks into office. I'm telling you, I'll find the soundbite and I'll get it to you. But you won't hear this again until Christie walks into his vice presidential role or whatever role he's going to play in the Trump presidency. So what I'm trying to say is this. Obama, a Democratic president, endorses Christie, a Republican governor, as far as his role and how he runs his state. Christie runs his state like a police state, okay? The corruption in New Jersey is rampant. It is crazy out of control. Justice for Quadir Felton, who's still alive in Southwood State Prison, and justice for Philip White, who was my friend who was shot and killed by violent police officers, and there's still no answer. March this month, at the end of this month, will mark 1 year, and there's still no answers. The officer is still working. So there is a police state in the state of New Jersey, a consistent and constant police state for the lower economy, the lower economic communities. And this police state is literally choking the life out of New Jersey. Not only is that happening, there's an economic collapse in New Jersey. The stores are leaving, the shops are closing up, small towns are being decimated, the American dream is being lost, unemployment is high. Everything is up in New Jersey as far as prices are concerned. Gas prices are up, cigarette prices are up, milk prices are up. Anything that you can think of, it's up. New Jersey is the prime example of what superinflation looks like with no jobs. Okay? So when Barack Obama gave his strong endorsement of Christie's state, which happens to be my home state, and say, hey, the United States, should look to Christie's model here in New Jersey and pretty much be ran the same way, it shocked me. All right? Now, you put that with the fact that Christie is now, coming out, oh, Barack Obama is terrible and this president has failed us and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Like these guys haven't sat down and ate steak dinners behind closed doors. Okay? And now he's with Trump, and they've been friends for a really long time. They're not new friends or anything like that. They're friends that have hung out before. So this is nothing new. Okay? This is nothing new at all, and that's what you need to understand. That's what you're watching here, okay? You're not watching, people that just happen to bump into each other in life at a certain political position within their careers. No, Trump owns plenty of land and real estate within the state of New Jersey, and within that land and real estate that he owns within the state of New Jersey, Christie, I'm sure, has frequented his locations. There's pictures of Christie's on the boardwalk walking down, eating his ice cream, nearly getting in fights with people on the boardwalk that he doesn't like. Okay, there's stuff out there like that. So the guy is not only a bully, which he's probably been picked on his whole life, and I won't get into all of that, but the guy is not only a bully, but, he runs his state with a very strong hand. And it's not the safest state. I will not even say that by far, but it is by far the most corrupt. And if there was more opportunities, lower taxes, higher wages, New Jersey could be a hub state for the northeastern area. That would be a wonderful place to be. Instead, New Jersey is turning into an area where middle class and low income families cannot survive. And people are leaving in massive numbers. I'm one of them. So I had to get out of New Jersey. I refused to try to survive barely making it. When making what I make, I can go somewhere else and live comfortably. And that's what I'm doing, living comfortably in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So when I look at people like Chris Christie, I automatically know he's been chosen a while ago. I said this about Donald Trump. He's been chosen a while ago. So Hillary, she's another one. The establishment doesn't care which one of those three becomes president, or Marco Rubio, or Ted Cruz. Any of those people are fine for becoming president in their eyes, or vice president. Now, the likely pick is going to be, Donald Trump and Chris Christie. If it's not Donald Trump and Chris Christie, it'll be Hillary Clinton and a vice president. I'm not sure exactly who. It may be Bernie Sanders, which would be very interesting, because if Bernie was to accept her position, that would really put him in the role of, pretty much succumbing to those elements. So we're in a tight position right now, guys. I can't say who to vote for, really. I can't say whether to vote for, Kasich, whether to vote for Sanders. Those are the only two people that I see as having any kind of viable option to vote for. Now, let's go beyond that. I'm getting a lot of people that are talking to me about, well, how can you say Kasich? How can you say Sanders? What are you talking about? You don't make any sense. Well, that's a fair, assessment if you don't understand what's going on. So let me explain to you what I'm actually talking about when I say Kasich or when I say Sanders. I'll be very clear about it. The reason why I say Kasich and Sanders is this. We have a fascist media. With our fascist media, what we're witnessing is an out of control rogue element of corporate America along with the media and the government that are all working together. Now, with these units working together, there's only one reason why they are working together, and that's called control. If they can control the process of what's going on in America, the political process, the economic process, social processes, if they can control the whole spectrum of things that makes America tick, then they are the ones who are in control, if you will. Now, this control that we're talking about, we're not talking about normal, ordinary control like, somebody would tell a parent, get control of your child. We're not talking about that kind of control. We're talking about a demonic level of evil control. These people don't just want to control, just a few things and make sure that you pay a few of your taxes one time. No, they want access to everything. They want access to what's inside of your house. They want access to what you're watching. They want access to what you hear, to what you see. Technology is being tailor-fit around our lives for that very reason. You have to understand that. Okay? So that's what we're looking at when we talk about control. Now, let's take this a step further. When I say access to things, and when I say control, how do you get this control that I'm speaking of? How do these people, this fascist government, along with their media and the corporate entities, how do they get this control? Well, this control that they get is by the media that they deliver to you. So every day out of your budget that you go hard, go to work and get a good dollar for, and you want to, pay for your things, you go spend $100, $150 a month for your cable and internet. Now, I'm going to tell you like this. You can spend $150 a month if you want for cable and internet. That's fine. That's up to you. But what you are essentially doing is paying to be infiltrated. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for your own infiltration. These marketing people at the top, they're not just people that have went to school and understand a little bit of marketing and put together an ad or two. These people are people that understand perceptions. In their perceptions, they understand how to manipulate perceptions. In their understanding of how to manipulate perceptions, they deliver that to you through the content that they put together. Now, this is not a process that people take lightly. This is a multi-billion dollar process. Advertising and sales is one of the largest processes that is out there on the planet. So that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about people that get paid millions of dollars to market to you. So while you're going to work and worrying about getting the paycheck to pay for your family, there's a team of people that are getting paid millions of dollars to learn how to market to you in a 30-second time span. The most information they can that can be as impactful as it can, and how to give that to you in a repetitious fashion. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. So when I talk about control, and when I talk about the fascist government, the fascist, the media and their corporate entities, when I talk about that, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the marketing teams that they put together, and they pay millions of dollars to infiltrate your thinking process. If you watch Fox, CNN, NBC, or any of the other ones, 5, 6, 7 times a week, you are literally paying to get yourself infiltrated, unless you have an antenna. and you're not paying for it. You're just getting infiltrated. Unless you know what you're watching too. If you know what you're watching and you continue to watch it, maybe you're just getting some information. I'm one of those people that I watch NBC. I'll tell you straight up, I watch NBC. But I don't watch NBC believing everything NBC says. I know that they're lying about some things. And I know that these local reporters, they're kind of stuck. They're stuck at a rock and a hard place because they're in a syndicated network. You see, and they have agreements to a corporate entity called NBC. The real station is called WRCB. And they have a lot of great local reporters, but they're tied into NBC. So their parameters and guidelines and the way that they tick is how NBC will let them tick. You see what I'm saying? So the fascist media has gotten their hands into local reporting as well. So we have to watch our local reporting to find out what's going on in our communities. But please understand that when you start hearing about the national stories and the international stories, they're not doing anything but reading that off of a cue card. Literally. They don't know themselves what's going on, so they can't pass good information to you. They're regurgitating information from corporate office. When they talk about the elections, it's not because your local guy sat down, watched the elections, came in the next day and decided to give you the news on the elections. Nope, that's not how it works. Instead, what happened is the guy said, you know what? I'm going to go to work today and I'm going to read off of my cue card and then I'm going to go home and I'm going to have my check. So we have a lot of reporters that have given up their responsibilities, if you will. So it's been a whole breakdown of the system. Our media was here to literally protect us. Now they can't protect us anymore. The only media that we have to protect us is online independent media, which is what I do. I write for Uncorporate Media. You can check them out. UCM. So I also write for Before It's News, but I think I might not be doing that much longer because I'm writing for Uncorporate Media now. Okay, or I might just do both of them. We'll see. But that's the way to do it. I encourage you, if you're listening to me right now, and I see I've picked up a few listeners now, and after about 20 minutes, it took a little bit of time, but welcome to the show, guys. If you want, you can live chat with me here in the background. I just opened that up. So far, a couple people have, Ever Garcia and Jenna T. But anybody else, give a shout out, whatever, I'll make sure I talk to you as well. But if you're just getting in here, I'm just giving a brief breakdown of, control. We talked about the elections a little bit, but kind of just the control of this government and how they get control and how they're holding their positions of power, what they've infected. They've infected, our local communities and what we can do to get out of it. So if you're listening to me out there, just know one thing. Genuinely, there's a way out of this. We do not have to sit here and take this. We don't. I get so frustrated because I talk to people and they just say it's over with. I'm not used to one of those people. I actually put out a video saying I probably wouldn't vote. That was wrong of me to do. And I'm going to tell you why. People have died for the right to vote. So, it's kind of sad that people have died for the right to vote. And now we've become so frustrated with the system that we're not even taking that right anymore. We're just saying, forget it. We relinquish our rights. We relinquish our rights to vote. That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. So I'm hoping that by me putting this out, that you'll understand that we still have an opportunity to change the system. We really do. They say, oh, well, we don't know, who to vote for. We hear we don't know who to vote for, and, there's nobody that's good out there, and, it's not a good feel, this cycle here. That's kind of false. There's Kasich and there's Sanders. Kasich doesn't appear to be too controlled by the special interest groups. Sanders obviously isn't controlled by the special interest groups. He has has raised the most money ever in presidential history. And none of it, not a lick of it, is from any corporations, from any business entities. Isn't that amazing? And he's raised more money than Hillary Clinton. How amazing is that? That he's raised more money than the woman who's been in office for, over 20 years now and has the backings of multiple super PACs. He's raised more money than her through the American people's small donations. But yet we hear more about, Donald Trump is funding his own campaign. That's the door of, that's another, easy way to tell it's fascism, okay? Are you understanding where I'm going with this? Do you see what I'm saying? It's a very easy thing to understand, okay? He's not beholden to anyone but himself. And he'll tell you that later on. I funded my own campaign, even though he is taking small contributions and donations, but I funded my own campaign. Oh, he'll rub that in your face. Okay? I'm telling you, it's not a good thing. The American people being invested in their candidate and actually helping fund the success of their candidate is a notable function, and I believe it's perfectly fine and legitimate, especially when there's rules to capping how much you can donate so that there isn't any kind of misuse of that system, if you will. So Bernie Sanders has utilized that system of donations, and he's done it only with the American people. I think that's notable. I'll take that any day over the super PACs that are supporting Hillary Clinton, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, you name it, Carson. These committees that are supporting these people and dumping millions of dollars into their campaigns. Guess what? That's who those people answer to. That they no longer answer to you and I. So I'm looking at Kasich. I have to look into more research as far as who's funding Kasich. But as far as, his role goes on the stage, he's obviously being ignored for a reason. On the Republican side of the house, he's being treated like the Bernie Sanders. Okay? But yet his track record says that he's actually a good man and he's done exactly what he says he's done in every debate. And then he doesn't debate about the personal characteristics of the other individuals on stage. To me, I'm sorry about that, guys. To me, that's a man with integrity, and that's a man with goodwill and a good heart. I may not be the most pro-Republican person out there, but that's a Republican I would consider voting for because I like him as a man, as a human. I think he's a good person. And I think that can, it's showing. And then he whipped Donald Trump in his own state, something that Marco Rubio couldn't do. And Marco Rubio couldn't do that because Marco Rubio didn't work for his state. He didn't go vote for his state. He didn't do anything for his state. So they didn't want him anymore. That's embarrassing when they elect you to a position and you don't go show up for your job to put in, your bid and your petition for the voices of the people, in your own state. That's terrible. I commended Marco Rubio on his vision of, understanding that. Thank you, Danielle. I appreciate that. She said, very cool setup. Thank you. I'm trying something new here. But, back to Marco Rubio, I'll just put it to you like this. Marco Rubio, not only, does he not show up, but at the same token, he decides to attack Donald Trump late. It was a weird strategy. I'm not going to lie to you. It kind of worked in his favor, I think, to give him a little bit more of a boost. But if he would have attacked Donald Trump a lot earlier, it probably would have helped him out a whole lot more, especially leading up to this point in the conversation in his state. He would have had many more months to be able to fight and go back and forth with Donald Trump. So he just waited too late, and the only thing he really had a good idea on was education, not really education, jobs in the future, tech jobs in the future, and how that relates to education. So I really enjoyed listening to how he thought about those kind of things. But back to what I said, he's controlled by super PAC interests. The same thing with this other guy, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz has to be one of the baddest politicians I have ever laid my eyes on. That guy can talk his ass off. I know I met him here in Chattanooga and actually was able to walk up to him, talk to him a little bit, and do an interview with him. It's here on YouTube. And I'll tell you what, Ted Cruz is a talker. I have never seen a talker that's a politician like Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is a scary politician. That is a scary politician. I'm not going to lie to you, man. That's one guy right there. He can almost talk himself out of any situation. If he knows any dirt about you, he will rip you apart and not blink doing it. Ted Cruz is everything that he says he is. He's everything that he believes he is too. And in that sense, I guess you could say the man has integrity in that way. But I just believe he's a little bit too right and a little bit too radical. The way he talks about killing people and and all this and no diplomacy. He doesn't have a diplomatic resolution, to anything. So it is a really, really scary situation, man. We don't need clowns like that in office. We don't need to send off. I'm a military veteran. I'm telling you now, we don't need to send off more of our boys and girls, into combat, into battle, just because, there is a quote unquote threat. All right. When are we going to get hit? When are we going to get jibed to what's going on? This threat is not as realistic as they made it seem. Have we forgotten 9/11? We know who's responsible for 9/11. That was a Republican president. How can we forget? How can we be so irresponsible? A Republican president is responsible for killing over 2,000 people on American soil. Okay? Barack Obama, responsible for stripping almost 90% of the rest of our freedoms, especially through his executive actions and through this weird ass Obamacare plan this Obamacare plan is about to mess this nation up. They have about a year left before it starts wreaking havoc. Mark my words. In this show, I'm telling you that right now. The funding for it is about to go through the roof, and I'm telling you it's for RFID implantable devices, but you don't have to believe me. Go read the documents. Did a show on that as well too. So I'm getting way off subject, but this is my point, guys. There's a lot going on out there in the election world, and the people that are dealing with these super PACs, I wouldn't necessarily trust them if I were you. I can't tell you who to vote for and how to vote. That's your personal decision and choice. But I will tell you, me personally, anybody with a super PAC, that's been pushing really hard with their super PAC, no, you're not getting my vote. People like Sanders that don't have the super PAC behind them, it's a lot easier for me to see that that person has been fighting for people's rights for a long time. The part where I don't agree with Sanders, and I'll just keep it real with you, Sanders doesn't, I don't think he gets the climate change thing and the global enslavement of that plan. So he has many great domestic policies, and he hits the issues head on domestically. He's been fighting for civil rights and for people's rights for damn near 4 decades or more, maybe. That's a really long time to be in the right lane of doing things. Any man that has a credible life like that of doing things and being in the right lane, that's a man that's worth taking a hard look at and saying, you know what, hold on. His track record is phenomenal. This is something that I can be proud to show my kids that, look, boys and girls, or, look, kids, whatever you got around you, your school kids, if you're a teacher, if you're a parent, your kids. But look, this is a man. This is an American. This is honorable. This is integrity. And whenever you have somebody with integrity, that's what you talk about. So when I look at Sanders, when I look at Kasich, I see a lot of integrity there. Not much showmanship, and I enjoy that. I don't want to see showmanship. I'm not looking for people to get up there to entertain me. I'm looking for people to do their damn job. And that's what you should be looking for, people to do their job. If they can do their job, guess what? Everybody wins. Everybody wins. Will they do everything right? No, they won't do everything right. It's impossible. But if they just do their job, then we all win. We can get some of the things that we want done. I like some of Sanders' plans. I like the things that Kasich has accomplished. So, I mean, you got some really good, people that are running here on both sides. But man, that would if they get all the rest of these clowns out of here, Trump and Cruz. Now, if they get them out of here, we could have a real race between Kasich and Sanders. Now, how wonderful would that be to see? A race of ideas, a race where none of us feels threatened that we're going to lose our country or something. With either one of those ideas, we know we're not going to lose our country. We know we're not going to be in war overnight. We know we're not going to be threatened and overtaken, or that we're going to, worry about going to sleep and then our sons and our daughters getting that call. Hey, we have to deploy 30, 40, 50,000 people to go fight in some war that, the president has given an executive action for. That's a scary reality when we talk about Cruz or when we talk about Trump. That's scary. That's what we're talking about, World War III. Okay? We are on the brink of that now. So whoever we put in office, we're going to have to be highly, highly mindful. Just mindful of everything. We have to look at it holistically. I had a lady tell me, okay, see, Danielle said, this is the real show right here, so she may not hear this for a few minutes because of the buffing, but she said, but Kasich took money from Soros, and that's a bad sign. And look, I agree, and that's why we're having this show. You understand what I'm saying? That's why we need to have this show, is so that we can talk about these things. Now, I haven't vetted the information that Danielle just gave, and, I'm just saying it because I'm reading it right here. It's one of my followers. But at the end of the day, that's why we need to talk about this. We already know the others are behind super PACs, but when it comes down to Kasich, did he take money from Soros? Did his staff take money from Soros? Who took money from Soros? You understand what I'm saying? They said the same thing about Black Lives Matter. You need to understand something. You got to get this right. You have to get this right. We can easily put together the path of what Hillary Clinton is doing, and how she's even selling off land in Oregon to Russia for uranium mining purposes. This is real factual information. Okay? So when we talk about, Kasich, we have to look into who is funding him. I don't know who's funding him. I said that earlier. I definitely don't know who's funding him. But I do know, track record-wise, he seems to be doing something right, track record-wise. So I'm going to look more into Kasich. But as of right now, the cleanest man that I see on this campaign trail by far is Sanders. It's the cleanest man. Now people are going to say, well, who are you voting for, Sherrod? I haven't decided yet. I said I wasn't going to vote just a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, something like that. I said I wasn't going to vote at all. But you know what? I thought about it, and like I said at the beginning of this show, my ancestors died for that right, and not just my ancestors, but some of your ancestors out there too. Guess what? They died for the same right, and for us to throw that right away because the corrupt government keeps frustrating us, we need to really come together in unity underneath All Rights Matter and start kicking ass. That's what we need to do. We need to start kicking ass. We're not kicking enough ass out here, and there's something that's wrong with that. So, it's time to really get to it, if you will. It's time to come together to understand each other. But it's time to have open conversations like this where we can talk openly and candidly about these people that will be affecting our lives. If we're electing a president, that person will affect our lives. That person will affect our children's lives. So the actions they take can be long-standing actions, and for years, Obamacare is going to take years to dismantle. I don't care who gets in the office and tries to dismantle it. You can't dismantle it just like that. If you get in the office and say, "Oh, I'm creating an action to stop Obamacare," somebody's going to stop that. They're going to stop that because, first of all, it's just going to collapse, the healthcare system, and then we're looking at a crisis, and then we're looking at possibly thousands, if not millions, of families without healthcare insurance, and that would be a catastrophe, if you will. So Obama has meticulously taken over the healthcare system, turned it into a federal tax system with penalties involved, called it a right, and now the next person that comes in has to change that and has to reform that. I can tell you that these super PAC committees are not going to do it. All they'll do is keep the same provisions in place and change it to their name. So then it'll be Trump Care or Cruz Care. And that's not what we need. We're not looking for that. Nobody is looking for that. There are other countries that are out there that are providing health care, to their citizens. And I believe, again, Sanders has the best plan on that, the single-payer health care plan. It's freaking phenomenal. It makes sense. It saves so much money in the long run. You pay a slightly higher tax. I'll pay a slightly higher tax for free healthcare. Free healthcare? Do you understand what that is? See, when you're a veteran and you've done a lot with your body and with your life and your mind, you understand the value of free healthcare, especially in an economy where it's hard to get a job that offers healthcare. Free healthcare in other societies is what's helping them to stay enriched. It's what's helping them to keep going. It's what's keeping them healthy. When you look at the shit that we eat here in America, and I have a friend that lives over in the UK, probably a couple hours outside of London. When I look at what she posts on Facebook and her Instagram compared to the shit that I post, now I consider myself to cook good food. I am not embarrassed by the kind of food that I cook. I like to eat what I think is relatively decent. But when I look at what she's eating over there, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why doesn't our food look like that? They're eating all these herbs and vegetables and, the plates look fantastic, like out of 5-star restaurants. And she's only paying $15 for them, $12, $18, maybe $20 for a plate. That's what I'm talking about here. And we're out here going to Applebee's. I'm not trying to down Applebee's or nothing like that. Got some good nachos and stuff. But at the end of the day, we are being programmed to accept lesser quality. They laugh at us in other countries. They literally look at the things that we eat and the things that we do, and they laugh at us. We are the laughing stock of the world because we've had weak presidents that are sold out to a cabal, to their own cabal of evilness, if you will. Okay? That's what we're looking at. These people, look, man, let me just keep it real with you. These people that sit in these positions, there's a reason why they have skull and bones. Okay? They don't have skull and bones because they're struggling to find members. Do you know how many people want to be in Skull and Bones that are that high up in positions of power? They would die to be in Skull and Bones. They would die to be in that elite group of men who are privy to all the nation's secrets and all the inner workings of the nation and are pretty much above the law. Okay? We're talking about an inner group of people that run shit. You have to understand that. These are not normal people. These are not people like you and I. Like I said, you go to work, you learn how to, take care of your bills and get through the daily problems, turn on your network news and find out what's going on locally, nationally, and call it a day. That's what you do. Okay? Not them. What they do is decide what you're going to do, what you're going to see, what you're going to spend your money on, how you're going to vote, how you're going to talk. They decide all of these things, and we don't get a chance to decide any of these things. Okay? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Morning, Donald Maggart. Just seen you popped up there. There you go. So, the fact that we're not able to decide anything, it speaks to where we really all stand in this world right now. And it's a very hurtful position we're in. I don't want to actually, I wasn't planning on being on this long, just to be honest with you. I was actually only going to do a half an hour, but I might as well keep going on with it. But I could just tell you this, guys. When you vote this cycle, use the vote the best way that you can. Don't waste your vote. Don't pick people that are being forced down your throat. And I would be wrong if I didn't sit here and tell you the full truth. So let me go a little bit deeper for my people that like to get more analytical. When I talked earlier about Chris Christie, Donald Trump, and Barack Obama, and the evilness that is upon this nation, I meant exactly that. I'm telling you to go vote, but I am not naive. I understand that we are facing hopeless circumstances. I understand that. I'm not naive in any kind of way. These hopeless circumstances that we know the system is rigged. We know that regardless of what they do, there's the very high possibility that they will do what they want to do. Put in office who they want to put in office. Okay? Now, if they know that, or if we know that, that can harden our position as far as participating in a rigged election. Okay? I understand that. But what I'm telling you is this. There's over 300 million of us. Over 300 million. We have the opportunity to create a revolution. We are in the window of renaissance right now. Okay? I may not have a whole bunch of you out there listening to me, but some people are going to look back on this and say, you know what? He got it right. I've been looking at this thing for a long time. I've been viewing these motions and movements for a long time. I pray about this kind of stuff. I sit here and meditate about this kind of stuff. So I'm trying to let you know where we are going. I'm throwing a lot of information out at you tonight, / going into the morning because it's that late. But I'm giving you this information because it's heavy on my mind, on my heart. I'm going to start doing this late night segment here semi-daily because some of you need to hear someone speaking like this so that you know there's people out that get it, that understand, that are not going to be moved ever by the rhetoric of, Washington and people above Washington controlling them. Okay? Yes, voting it's been, it's all but decimated. This is our last election, guys. I'm telling you now, this is our last election. So you might as well vote. Even if you only vote for the purpose of nostalgia. Just vote. Because if we don't vote this time, this is very likely to be our last election. There won't be a need for it after this one. All the executive orders will be in place where they need them to be to have the kind of power that they need where they can cancel the next election. That's what we're talking about. Where the president will be able to veto the election process due to whatever crisis may be happening at the time. See, a lot of you folks don't even understand things like this. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit more as well, too. Okay? When it's still working. Good. Let me hold on here. There you go. Okay. When we talk about the election and these polls, okay, these polls here, you know, I hear you, Danielle. I'm not convinced that Obama is necessarily leaving either, but we'll actually see. But when we talk about these polls, all right, these polls are something else. You know, it's something where, God, election polls coming up, man. Look, not only is it rigged, but we're going to be facing what I believe to be a terrorist threat. I have openly talked out about this. I know parts of this interview aren't even going to go up because I just looked and seen I have a bad connection. It's skipping out and buffering all over the place. But, you know, I'll work on that a little bit later. But there'll be many more of these conversations. My thoughts don't change. But these election polls that are coming up, we are in trouble. We are in pure trouble. I'm telling you that right now, guys. We are in trouble. These election polls that are coming out, there will probably be the threat of a terrorist activity. When that happens, okay, I'm even that comfortable in saying it. When the violence ensues and it spills over from the Trump rallies into the election polls, we're going to notice that the military will be at our election booths. We're going to notice that we're going to have foreign forces on our soil. For the first time, the Canadian military will come down and will help to patrol our areas and civil population. Because you guys don't know that either. Is we have agreements with everybody, but Canada's the closest. We have agreements with all of our neighbors to use their forces in case of a time of disaster. Okay, recently one of the viewers here on the channel just shared the documents with me, and I just put some information out about them. So that's what we're looking at. These polls are going to be rigged this election cycle. We know it, but it does not mean we should not stand up for our right to vote. We should do it, and we should do it in mass numbers to show that we are not giving up, to show that we will scrap for that last crumb because it's just that damn important. I, for one, will be scrapping for that last crumb. I will scrap to keep that last crumb and not let them take that last thing from us. If they take voting from us, we have admitted that we are defeated. And that's scary. So guys, that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about for right now. I got to kind of check out this streaming thing and see how terrible this video came out. It says about 53 minutes here on the screen. I'll take a picture of that. And there's about 8 of you that are watching, and went up to about 10, so I appreciate that. And I see that some of you have stayed on for quite some time. That's awesome. But, you know, guys, I'm going to do this a lot more often, and I am going to actually have my EPB internet running soon, so I don't have to use this air internet like I've been using. And EPB, like I said, is one of the fastest in the world, or in the United States. And, you know, well, we were the fastest in the United States, and I think we still hold that title. But we have the fastest all fiber optic network, and I moved here and they didn't offer it here. I created a fuss, and now they are installing it out here now. So it should be finished now, and I'm going to actually check it out tomorrow morning. And if they're finished, I'll have that actually hooked up this week. So you guys make sure you stay tuned to this, because this is just going to keep happening. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to shut up, and they will never shut me down. Ever. Ever. You make sure you download my videos, and if I'm not ever here, just know that, one, I never did not ever kill myself. If I ever die in police custody, I did not kill myself. And if I am never here, you download my videos and you redistribute them and disseminate them everywhere you can, far and wide, because the information that's contained in these videos is stuff that you're not going to hear on the Alex Jones channel. Stuff that you're not going to hear Dabu7 saying. It's stuff that you're not going to hear a lot of guys and girls saying, because they haven't walked in my shoes and lived my life. Everybody contributes their own piece to the pie, but at the end of the day, you know, we're not all the same, and I can promise you that. So, you know, Shout outs to anybody out there that's doing real work, and that's not selling out to the government and to the corporate elite. If you're selling out to the corporate elite and you've been preaching and practicing to your following to never do that, but now you're doing it, shame on you. Shame on you, and your platform should be taken from you. I'm tired of people doing it. If you're getting behind people that have funded corruption for years, shame on you. Shame on you. You can't do that. You just can't do that and promise the people that you're giving them the truth if you're willing to be a sellout. So I look at people like Alex Jones and I'm just disgusted with him. Disgusted. I stopped listening to him a long time ago, but they told me he supported Trump, and I checked it out, and him and Louis Farrakhan, and these guys are crazy. These guys are crazy, and I love the way Louis Farrakhan speaks and the things he speaks about. And don't get into this emotional conversation with me about, oh, he talks about killing white. No, he doesn't. He talks about killing white demons, or white demons that have been living a long time, like KKK type demons. But at the end of the day, the man is an amazing orator. I mean, he just somebody that gets on that stage and he says it like it is, and I respected him, and I still do. But when I look at these people, like Alex Jones and him and that interview they had, it scares me, man, because they're completely misleading the people into thinking that Trump is okay and that it's just okay to run the world like this. We are looking at a Hitler in the making. If Hillary gets in there, guess what? Hitler in the making. Just the female version of it. So what do you want, Hitler or Hitler? So it's important to, look into who you're voting for. Kasich seems like a gentleman. He seems like a good guy. I don't know if he's funded by Soros. I'll look into that and see what's going on with Kasich. I'll actually do a separate video on that. I promise to bring that to you guys. So be looking for the Kasich video, see what we can uncover. If there's anything to uncover about him, I'll find it. So if we can't uncover anything about him, then I'm going to stand fast on what I said. There's two options that are good options, Kasich and Sanders. So I think that those options are good. I'm getting a lot of my Republican friends, oh, I don't see any options. I just don't see any good options. Well, Sanders is talking about everything that we want in this country, and he's not being funded by corporate interests. The only thing you probably don't like about him is he says democratic socialist, but he was very clear on calling that out. He calls it how he sees it. That's what we are. It's what we become over time. Do we have to accept that? No. Can we go back to running a republic? Yes. But does that also mean that your mom and your dad will no longer get their Social Security? Yes, that's what it means, because Social Security is a socialist program. So when you talk about socialism, socialism is a system that can benefit people. It doesn't have to hurt people. It depends on the ruler or the president in this case, because it's democratic socialism. Now, the rulers of other countries that have completely turned their countries to shit and have turned into dictators, socialism didn't work out too well for them because it quickly turned into communism. We don't have that here, hence term democracy. It's turning into, communist style if we give up our election process. And that's what people are willing to do, it seems like, and that's just scary. But we're not there. So democratic socialism, guys, that's what we are as a country. It's just simply the definition of what America is. Can we change that and make America go back to a republic? Well, I believe we can, and I know that we can. I'm working with some fine young ladies that are throwing out some great ideas to do that with constitutional judges and, great ideas that are big ideas. So I'll be bringing them on for a show soon. So we can conversation about that as well. But what we need to remember is we cannot get out of the fight. We have to stay in the process. We have to keep looking for the best person. Stop worrying about whether the best person is a representative from your party. You obviously see that I don't care about the party. I care about the individual, the man or the woman that's running. And from what I see so far, I only see two people that I enjoy, Sanders or Kasich. If Kasich is funded by billionaire interest groups, If he is funded by billionaire interest groups that don't have the best interests of the public in mind, I will definitely come out in that video and say, don't vote for Kasich. And I mean that. I'm not playing all that. If you're funded by a public, by a big interest group, guess what? I just don't have any time with you. You have ties. Now, does it matter? Does it mean that the man's not legitimate? Nope, doesn't mean that. I'm sure that he's legitimate. But at the same token, we got to be careful. We're in a different day and age now where we got to get somebody that understands it. So he's a very nice guy. He's a great track record, but I'm going to look into that. And Sanders, like I said, the only thing I don't like about him is I don't think he understands the global climate situation. Climate change is real, but you cannot use it to enforce laws on people. And that's ultimately what's going to happen from a globalist level. And I just don't think Sanders gets it. So yes, we need to do some of that carbon emissions tax that he's talking about levying on business that have high carbon footprint. That carbon emissions tax is going to damage a lot of people. I'm telling you that now. It's going to damage a lot of people. What they're trying to control now is free energy. Okay? And that's what Bernie Sanders needs to start talking about, is not controlling free energy and getting people off of these electric grids as soon as possible. So I'd like to see more topics of discussion on that. He's kind of brought it up briefly, but he hasn't put 2 and 2 together. And to me, that's, just on the level of my thinking and what I do, that's a really key critical point. Even though I love all of the things he says about our plight in America as African Americans, but, I just need a stronger world stance on this global emissions thing and this global carbon tax thing. I am not a fan of it at all. So, but it does not mean that you can't vote for the man. We can have further conversation about that later on down the road. Same thing dealing with, Kasich, but if he's tied to this, to that Wall Street money or anything, no vote for him. But that's how I look at the whole situation, giving you guys the breakdown. My streaming time says that I've been streaming for 43 minutes. Here on my phone, it says for an hour and 2 minutes. So you guys are going to be missing a ton of information that I actually put out there. That's okay. Like I said, I'll be doing this again. Thank you for staying with me this long. This was just a test, show. Episode 1 was a test. It didn't go off as well as I liked it to go off as far as the streaming effort, but it felt good getting some of you guys on here commenting. I appreciate you. Let me go on here. Okay. David, Danielle, Kazar, I believe I'm saying that right. Donald, Jenna, and more of you guys out there, Ever Garcia and more. I appreciate you guys for logging in and listening in and commenting and just being a part of the conversation. So I'll make sure I do these. I'll probably end up doing another one. I have a live show tomorrow night on Wednesday night on Anon Radio Live. That's www.anonradio.live. You can listen in at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're probably going to have Brandon Curtis on tomorrow night. He's going to be giving us an Oregon update. This is just for you guys that are watching this right now, and I'll tell you a little special something before I get off air here. The person that's dealing with David Fry and putting up David Fry's YouTubes from prison, I actually spoke with that person the other day. So I was in contact with that person. Hopefully on Thursday night, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., somewhere in that time, I'll be doing a live interview with David Fry. So I'll keep you guys posted on that live interview. I'm sure that everyone will want to hear what David has to say from prison. So, I spoke to him once before on Revolution Radio. Shout out to Revolution Radio. I should actually be on Revolution Radio soon. They asked me to do an interview, so I got to get back in contact with them. But a lot of things moving, guys. A lot of things are happening. All Rights Matter is a platform that, it's for everybody. And this is going to be something big, guys. All Rights Matter. Share it out to your friends. Hashtag it everywhere you can. Get people to understand it. Get out of this Democrat, Republican thinking. Become independent thinkers. Challenge you. Stop labeling yourself Democrat and Republican. Say, I'm independent. I am free from choosing sides. I will choose the man or woman based on their merit, based on their decision making, based on their resolve. That's what we need to get back to, based on the fact of, do they listen to the Constitution? Do they understand godly rights, what our Constitution guarantees us? Okay? Godly rights. I love my Islam brothers and sisters, but Islam brothers and sisters, this is a Christian nation. This is a godly nation. That's what it was meant to be, but the people have corrupted it. We can't forget that as the people because it's our nation. So I'm with anybody that stands with the Constitution, anybody that understands that rights are important. And with that being said, thank you guys again. You guys, make sure you have a good night. Make sure you listen in live, www.anonradio.live tomorrow night and every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure if you're watching this video and it's not live, you go beneath in the description section and you download. Make sure you go ahead and download my app to your phone. Once you have my app to your phone, I send out updates when I go live on the air, and it's not on YouTube. I can't put everything on YouTube and can't say everything on YouTube, believe it or not. So I do go live, and it's not on YouTube. It's on Anon Radio Live, and it's my show, The All Rights Matter Show. I would like for you guys to, download that app so, we'll have more of an intimate connection. You'll get the information before anybody else gets it. All right, guys. With that being said, thanks a lot again for everything tonight, for listening, and God bless. Stay alert, stay alive.